Everybody these days is worried about losing their job to AI.
Is artificial intelligence coming for your job?
And the problem is that effort and knowledge become commoditized.
59% of young Americans view AI as a threat to their job prospects.
As an accountant, you can never work harder than a server farm.
A projected 10.5 million American jobs could be lost to AI by 2030.
And so the question becomes, what am I going to do about it? So effort is completely commoditized, right? You're competing with GPUs. Oftentimes, people who are in white-collar jobs, they've learned that, oh, if I put in the effort, I will be rewarded. You have to work hard to make money. You have to grind. There's so much thought like that. It says effort is the really important thing. But in the world of AI, one idea can change everything. Oh, here's a way that I can do accounting with 6 agents instead of do it by myself. Well, that can change your whole business. So the question stops becoming, how do I put in effort? And it starts becoming, how do I have great ideas? The person who talks about this the best is Jeff Bezos. And he says, for the first 2 hours of his day, he wanders. And then after that, he makes decisions till 5 o'clock. And then he stops making decisions because he doesn't make as good decisions. So he literally sees that his decision-making is what creates value, not effort. But now let's talk about fear. So one of the things about fear that happens is that it makes you think in a binary way. When you're scared, you think, should I buy the car, not buy the car? Date the person, don't date the person. Get a divorce, don't get a divorce. Black and white thinking in the age of AI is replicable by a computer. It's creative thinking that isn't. And so fear immediately prevents you from having those creative thoughts. The other thing fear does is it creates a false end. And so when people are talking about, oh, I might get fired, there's no end to it, right? You lose the job, but we've all lost a job or quit a job and we've been happier for it. There's no end in losing a job. It's just one step in a process. But as soon as you think that there's an end, then you can't think past it. Okay, yeah, so you lose your job. And then what happens right after you lose your job? Well, I'm one of the first people to lose my job. And so I'm one of the first people who gets to reorganize their life to adapt to the new world of AI. And so you actually have an advantage to lose your job earlier. And so nobody's thinking about it that way when you're in fear. So fear actually stops you from getting the things that are necessary to be able to thrive in the age of AI. So I want to talk now about the 3 things that you can invest in that will help you thrive in the age of AI, and then talk about some simple things that you can do. So how you become more creative is less fear, more play, more not caring about the results, more impartiality from view, more wonder. Means that you can think outside of the box. It means you can see around corners. It means that you're not thinking about things in the same context that everybody else is thinking about things. You've never heard anybody go, oh my God, I got so scared and then I was creative, right? What happens is people are creative in the moment when they're not scared. Like kids are creative by nature. I think the best example I have of this is Banksy. And he basically sold a piece of art, and once it got sold, remote control shredder in the frame just shredded half of the piece of art. And you think, wow, that's like this, like what the heck? But that piece of art just became worth a lot more money because he shredded it. This is a unique thing, and all of a sudden became worth more money. Well, what does that tell everybody who wants to buy a Banksy? It's like saying, with a Banksy, you also get this lottery ticket of the piece of art becoming worth a lot more money. That's just like creativity, thinking outside of the box. And you can't do that with like a lot of fear, obviously. Like a lot of fear is not going to make you more creative. Thinking that things have to be a certain way doesn't make you creative. Fear of change doesn't make you creative. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one is emotional fluidity. What we know is great decisions get made by the emotional center of our brain. Actually, all decisions get made by the emotional center of our brain. And so if we're scared to feel certain emotions, it makes it so that we can't make great decisions. As a matter of fact, when people lose that emotional center of their brain, their IQ stays the same, but they take like hours to decide where to have lunch. And so we're really making decisions because we want to feel a certain way. We want to feel loved or not rejected or content and not anxious. And so we're making decisions to try to feel certain ways. Now, if you can fall in love with those emotions, or if you know those emotions will move through you quickly, if you're not resisting those emotions, then you can change very, very quickly. I've talked about this a ton, but every time my wife and I are in a part of the marriage where things are getting hard and we don't feel like we're satisfied, we both go and mourn the marriage so that we can show up as who we are. Because if we're so scared of losing each other, then we don't act in a way that's true for us. We don't redefine the marriage in a way that works for us. And then the last thing you can invest in is wisdom. And wisdom is a little bit like emotional fluidity in the fact that how you make decisions is a huge part of wisdom. And it's also a little bit about like how you see around corners, right? Can you put patterns together that allow you to see what's going to happen? And can you make great decisions? And that comes mostly from understanding yourself. So in this video, you've just learned that fear is going to hold you back from making great decisions. But wisdom is the actual actions that take care of that fear, that allow that fear to actually metabolize into something that's going to help you. So it's not just the knowledge, it's the wisdom on how to do it. It's actually the actions that you take from the decisions that you actually make. That's where wisdom really makes a big difference. And how you do that is to really understand the patterns in yourself. Because right now, whatever's happening, you're looking at the world and your solution set through what you've learned in the past. And if you don't understand what you've learned in the past, if you don't understand how you look at the world, you won't see the limitations of your capacity. Oh, hey, I need to be more productive so that I will get value, so I'll be seen as valuable. And you don't notice that you have that like incessant need to be valuable, to be loved. You're never going to change your behavior or make decisions that are more about making great decisions, that are more about being creative than you are about putting in effort. So super critical for wisdom. And so that's what the three things are. So now let's talk about like just some simple, practical things that you can do. Every day, play with your job just a little bit. Like have a little bit of fun with your job. And the way that I do that is I always set up a iteration. What's something new that I can try today that I haven't tried before? And if I do that every day and I have like a little bit of play with it and I'm iterating every day, that is an incredibly great way to get creative about the job and about what I can do next. One more action that you can take around creativity is this like simple tool that I very much love, which is, if I couldn't do it this way, how would I do it? Even better than that question is, how would I do it in an even more enjoyable way? Because if you're actually thinking about how to do it with enjoyment, it means you're using less effort. And so that allows for a lot of creativity. For emotional fluidity, we have emotional inquiry. It's a great tool. You can get the link below. We also have a great tool that we can give you, which tells you where the stuck emotions are, how to identify your stuck emotions. And one of them, so I'll just give you one of these tools, is every place you judge somebody is an emotion that you don't want to feel. If you judge somebody for being late, what you don't want to feel is angry, or maybe what you don't want to feel is disrespected. So every time that you're judging somebody, there is an emotion underneath. And so you can just like go through your day and go, oh, here's all the places I judge. Here's all the things I don't want to feel when I judge. Those are all places you don't have emotional fluidity because you don't want to feel them. Until you're like, oh, I can't wait to feel that thing. I can't wait to feel fear. I can't wait to feel angry. That doesn't mean take your anger out on anybody, but I can't wait to feel it because I know there's wisdom there. I know there's knowledge there. I know that it's a signal. I know there'll be relief at the end of feeling it. Until you can get to that place, then there's emotions you don't want to feel. That is stuckness, right? It's like working out and saying, I don't want to feel any like fire in my arms. You're not gonna have resilience in your arms. It's the same with emotions. Now let's just talk about the simple things that you can do around wisdom. The easiest thing is view. And view will actually help with all of this stuff. And we teach this in the connection course. And we also have podcasts on it that you can also find below in the links. And that's vulnerability, impartiality, empathy, and wonder. And I've already talked about them, but to really learn them in your body, to really do the exercises so that you know Not, oh, I should be vulnerable, but oh, this is what vulnerability feels like, and I know how to do it. Or how do I get to wonder really quickly? We have some cool tools about how to get to wonder that are just amazing. And so View is a great first step in really increasing your wisdom, partially because it provides wisdom, but partially it teaches you how to relate to the path. If you are in deep connection with yourself, then the path of wisdom goes a lot quicker. So another way you can handle wisdom is just write a list of everything that you're highly convicted about and just write them all down, and then write down one way that you might be wrong, one thing that you don't know about it, one way in which you haven't opened your mind to a different reality. And that will show you the patterns that you're in. It'll show you the places that you don't have the flexibility to see yourself. One of the best signs of wisdom is that you can see the truth in many perspectives. There might be only one thing that you want to do, but you can actually hold different perspectives at the same time, see the truth in both of them. My teacher is this, but they're also this. Like, to be able to see other people's perspectives, hold two different truths simultaneously, it's very relieving to the system, but it's also part of what makes wisdom happen. It's what allows you to see things in a dispassionate manner so you can predict what's coming.